And good afternoon, Miami. This is Gio with Recharge Your Life. I am your health and life community coach. And you know what I love to do is I love to bring you guests that can contribute to your well being with information, with tidbits, with nuggets, something of value that you can take away. As you know, I love to talk about balancing our well being through all the areas of life. And what is that? We talk about our health, we talk about our finances, our love and relationships, something connected to something greater. And then we have our life purpose and career. So today, I am so excited that our guest is not only, well, first of all, wears multiple hats, but is I'm going to say, risk taker, an entrepreneur, a marketing guru, a branding genius. I'm going to say it. I'm going to give it to you. And we're here to learn about her story and help us kind of take that leap if we're thinking about it and ready to do so. So, with that being said, welcome my guest today, Vania Toledo, founder and CEO of V Consulting. Hello.
Hello, Gio. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for coming. And I'm really excited to have you here. And then again, I always say that, but I really am excited to always have my guests because everyone that comes here is so diverse, and it is so important to hear about everyone's story because we can learn from everyone. And I love your story because I can relate, right? So before we get into that, though, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Who's Vania? Where are you from? Tell us.
So, I am born and raised here in Miami, totally a local girl. I have Cuban roots, which I'm very, very proud of, and I feel very, very deeply. And I love to travel. I love to study. I love to learn things. I don't think I'll ever be fully done learning.
Mm.
And I love to experience life, like even to the smallest detail. And sometimes small things are very big things to me, just because I want to enjoy that moment and like preserve it in my mind forever.
Ah, so already that says that you sound like you're very well balanced, right? And you really listen to the things that you enjoy and that you want to do, right? Would you say that's correct?
I would say that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely try to tap into all of the little different pots.
Beautiful. So that's a little bit about you. So now tell us, what do you do?
Well, I am a communications marketer by trade. I did my bachelor's and my master's here at Florida International University, and kind of the whole aspect of the brand building. So, advertising, marketing, digital events, everything that it takes to build a brand,
Mhm.
either from scratch or take an existing brand and give it a little revamp. Pretty much all of the things that fall under that communications umbrella, to include public relations and a lot of the
Yeah.
grassroots efforts. So a little bit of everything. I
Okay.
like to think of my strategy as well balanced and
Okay.
very 360.
Love that. And I'm always curious, where did the interest come from? Where did you decide that that's what you wanted to do?
Well, at the inception, I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to sit at the news desk, and cover the stories in faraway places. But as soon as I graduated with my bachelor's, I decided to start a family at the same time. So doing those away trips, on a whim were just not feasible. So the other side of what I studied at FIU under communications was the public relations and the marketing and the advertising. So I tapped into that
Got it.
and tailored the career. I was already on that career path
Mhm.
to be more at home,
Mhm.
even if travel was involved, but not to that degree.
Okay. So then you get your bachelor's, and then how did you get your first job? What was it?
I was I studied, I was kind of a non-traditional student. I was
Okay.
always the oldest student in my bachelor's and my master's. I went to school later in life.
Okay.
So I was already on a marketing path in the flower industry and a couple of other types of companies. But when I graduated with the degree, I delved into the parts that I had found the most affinity with: hospitality, wine and spirits, beauty. and most recently with luxury goods.
Yeah. Okay. And so now I want to jump into really, I mean, you've had a very successful career with marketing, with branding, working for companies and all that. And it sounds like, you've always kind of had listened to yourself as far as like what it is that you wanted, right? Following your passion, your curiosity around the marketing. So at what point, what happened? Because you are an entrepreneur, you are now you're the founder and CEO of your own company.
Right.
So talk to me about how did that happen, right? Because I think, and this is why I have you on today, because a lot of us find ourselves at a crossroad in life, and we realize that we're not necessarily doing what we love.
Right.
But you had always been doing what you love, but just for others
Right.
versus yourself. So
Exactly.
talk to me about that moment that was kind of like maybe the light bulb that said, do I want to do this? Yes, I want to do this. And then talk to me about that process.
So, like you said, I had always been affiliated with one brand at a time, doing the corporate thing and representing those brands to the fullest while I
Mhm.
was there. And as my career grew and I moved from company to company, I started learning a lot about corporate life and the inner workings of companies. And so, at my last tenure, I was there for a little less than 3 years. A lot of big shifts started happening in their corporate headquarters, and the decision was made to restructure a lot of the brands that they had here in the US. And one of those brands, which I was working
Mhm.
for, the restructure brought upon eliminating the position that I had. So, although I had it in the back of my mind to start something from scratch, it felt organic to me to help multiple companies at the same time. I was kind of afraid to take the leap. So, this was kind of a shove, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
And it really helped me take a strong look at what I really wanted, because
Yes.
I considered going into another corporate position again because I had been very successful at doing that. But there was a side of me that was chomping at the bit to say, I want to take ownership of this and create these strategies for these companies based on my 20 years of
Yes.
experience and the connections that I've made in South Florida and beyond, because I've worked for global companies. And so the nudge just nudged a little harder, and I did it, and V Consulting was born.
Yay. Look, I'm a true believer in that what is meant for you will never pass you by. And a lot of the times, right, you're right. It's very scary to say, do we do it? Do we not do something? But at the same time, it's always helpful if we get that nudge. Sometimes we get that nudge in a way that we may not like it, right? Some of us may lose our jobs. With you had a choice, which is, I think, even such a better positioning. But I really do find it all relative. So that fear, that unknown, following that, if somebody is listening that says, man, I want to do what she did because I know that I have the skills. I know that I could do not necessarily like a better job, but just I want to try it on my own, right? What advice would you give them?
Find your passion, because I believe that we do the best work of our lives when we don't feel like it's work. When you wake up every morning with that purpose, with something that's driving you, that's driving that passion, that you're excited to sit at your computer or go visit a client or get dressed for that matter and put your face out into the world, then you've found that calling. What happens sometimes is that people decide to branch off on their own and just pick what's hot right now, what's making money right now.
Mm.
And sometimes it's not, long lived. It doesn't have that, you know, um, tangibility for you, whether it's the area we live or it becomes quickly oversaturated. But if you're doing what you love, none of that matters because you will always find a way.
100% agree with you, as well as I think that I will add to it that all of us are unique. And so you bring unique skills to the table. And so, yes, there's going to be competition, but remaining true to who you are along the way and knowing that there's things that are going to work and things that are not necessarily going to work. And, or the unexpected comes, which may necessarily you didn't think may have worked, but they actually do,
Right.
which I think is very similar to a little bit of kind of your journey in that we put expectations or what it should look like, and along the way, it doesn't. And I think, tell me a little bit about your experience with that, because you had shared with me before around that, you know, again, you don't have to name the clients, but in all of a sudden building this portfolio of brands and clients that really you never expected,
Right.
right?
That is true. A lot of times your calling is one type of a group or a sector in that type. I thought that my marketing would be 100% hospitality, wine, and spirits because it's what I drew from for so many years. Even during college, I did promotional modeling in the wine and spirits industry. So even before I delved into that part of my career, I had dabbled in it.
Okay.
And I thought that coming out the gate, all the calls were going to be from the former colleagues and the
Yep.
former companies. And there was some of that, but looking at the portfolio where it is right now, it's only about 20%.
Wow.
And the rest has been a lot of other industries of people that have closely watched my trajectory and my career and how I've expanded to different countries. And marketing is marketing. So I've learned to reposition what I do and who I offer it to include a lot of other sectors.
Okay. Yes. And so again, being open to possibilities and other opportunities, because you never know where they're going to take you. And I love that. So now I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know, let's see, I'm a small business and I want to hire you. So where do you start? Give me a little bit of a feel of what you would do to help my brand, my business really get, I guess, is it noticed? Is that what we're trying to do? Is it get awareness in the marketplace? What is it?
It depends. I like to have a one-on-one with the business owner and ask them, where are you right now? Where are you, with your business, and where do you want to be in the next 12 months? If they're literally just starting out and they have zero creatives, we literally start with building their logo, their business cards, their websites, their social. If they're already established but are not seeing the traction or the growth how they expected, then we have to sometimes consider rebranding. Maybe the branding is falling short, or sometimes give it a little tweak or change the approach. Look, we're not doing this. Our top 3 competitors are doing this. That's where I come in. I do the analytics. The top 3 competitors in the same market, because you have to compare apples to apples,
Yes.
have been doing this and this and this for the last 18 months, and your company has done none of that. With, of course, thinking of what the budget is, we need to figure out a way of tapping into that and have some market share there.
Okay. So very hands-on. You roll up your sleeves.
Oh, yes. Daily.
Yes.
Multiple times a day.
And you manage just all the areas, really. I mean, you're their go-to person
Right.
for how to build their business.
Right.
Okay. So, and also I think for anyone that's listening to us is that don't be afraid to ask for support, right? Ask for, if it's just a consultation, right? Because no brand is too small.
Right.
And even if you don't have business cards, it is okay. Or if you've been in a business for a while and you think, I'd like to get a different perspective, because perspective is always really good, right? Certainly that's someone that you can help, where you can help.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of different types of approaches. Sometimes a company is well established, is well known, is showing their growth, but there's a certain demographic they have not connected with yet. And they'll bring me in what's considered a special project as opposed to being on a retainer where I'm constantly working to grow the brand. It's a one-time project. There's a certain area that we have not developed to our full potential. What are we missing? Why aren't we able to connect with the consumer or this particular demographic in that sector? I come and I examine, and we put together a program. And sometimes it's very project specific, 6 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Events, showcases, trade shows. So very unique.
Yeah. And I'm hearing all this and I'm like, oh, this is why I am a health and life coach, because that information to me is very overwhelming. And so that's probably I know that a lot of the challenges that either small business owners have or entrepreneurs are saying, there's just so much. Where do we start? Like how do we organize the things? And those are things that you come in and break down. So would you say that you might build almost like a roadmap of how?
Exactly
Okay,
right. I call
beautiful.
it phases.
Uh,
Like this will be the brand launch phase
Okay.
1, brand rollout phase 2, brand integration phase 3, and then brand maintenance, for example, phase 4. It's not the same for every company, it's not the same for every brand, but sometimes holding that person's hand and walking them through the phases makes it a little easier to digest and understand
Okay.
as overwhelming someone with this is a 12-month
Yeah,
strategic plan
of
for your
course.
company, and
Of
overwhelming
course.
them with metrics and
Of course.
analytics.
Yes. And everyone has different philosophies, approaches, opinions. For you, is there something that you feel like traditionally is still important to have within your brand? And or what is like today where you definitely it's a must have, like where you need to be, the space that you need to play in?
Undoubtedly, you need to be digitally
Okay.
found. You
Okay.
need to have a strong, I'm trying not to use crazy terms for you, but SEO, search engine optimization. There has to be certain keywords that people punch in and they need to be able to find you.
Okay.
I think that that is probably, especially for companies with e-commerce, that's number one. The things that people don't realize that are still necessary, but I believe that the real strategy behind marketing that's effective is 360, is traditional advertising and digital advertising. Some companies go the way of only digital, and there are still areas you want to maintain presence because there are other companies very similar to
Mhm.
yours or offering a product similar to yours that
Mhm.
are all over every billboard or
Yeah.
at every event, or brands, doing brand
Yeah.
sponsorships. There has to be a good balance where your brand is still top of mind when people go out and are not surfing the internet per se.
Of course. Okay. So today is March 31st, which is our last day of Women's History Month. So I kind of just put that together and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I have you here. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about if there's a woman out there has a business idea or has kind of started something, wants to leave her company, finding herself in the same situation that you did at one point. Share with me, how do you get it all done? Right? Talk to me about your well-being. So what is important to you? What are your non-negotiables? How do you get it all done?
I sometimes wonder if I actually get it all done, or
Okay.
I think I am, but I'm old school. I put things on my phone as the to-do list. My children laugh at me, Mom, and really, if it's not written on your phone, it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
This is true. But carving out some time for myself, and it's not on the regular, but every so often, a facial, a walk around the neighborhood, sitting outside and looking at the lake, getting a massage.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen often, but I do realize that sometimes my life is fast paced. There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
I want to be there for, all the big steps of my children and grow a company at the same time. I just started in November, so there's a lot to do. I try to find a healthy balance of having some fun time, some
Okay.
downtime
Okay.
as well. And I know it's hard, especially for us women, because we do wear all the hats. But I think making a point of doing it makes me a happier person
Got it.
in
Got
all
it.
the other
Got it.
facets.
Yeah. And so throughout this process, because again, it's a process, what has probably been your biggest lesson? So you can either give me your biggest lesson or your biggest obstacle, right? Or if you had to like sum it up, because you decided this in November, right? So you
Well, officially, I launched my company in November. So the
Okay.
month of October was the month of reflection where I had to make that decision,
Okay.
where I had finished my role in the previous company and I had to decide one way or the other.
Okay. So then what has been the biggest challenge for you throughout these first launching?
The biggest challenge is that I expect a lot of myself. I
Mm,
push myself extremely hard. I don't allow myself failing.
yeah.
Failure is like, and I realize that that's been an obstacle and something that I've, funny enough, been working on, to allow myself to make mistakes, to allow myself to try something, and if it didn't work, try something else, and I'm not a failure because of that. I'm a stronger person because of that, because now I can choose to go another way. But definitely, I think the biggest obstacle going off, doing my own thing is because before you have a boss, there's someone
Yeah.
that you're trying to make happy or satisfy their request, but now that's you.
Yeah.
So being hard on yourself is
Yeah.
sometimes the biggest obstacle.
And I think that you're speaking to so many of us out there because we all face these challenges. And it's interesting. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because we hold ourselves to such expectations, and we in our minds think that we're failing when we're really not. So reflection at the end of the day, figuring out ways to, kind of either document or reflect, and realizing that you are doing a lot, right?
Right.
Taking that moment, because I think that's really the key to really balancing your well-being, right? And when we talk about let's recharge, it's okay, now let's reset. What do we need to do? It's like the start, stop, continue.
Right.
So I can relate to that. I think a lot of women can relate to that. Where do you see the consulting? So what's the vision? What's that big vision?
I want to bring something fresh to what marketing consulting is considered. There are a lot of people that do marketing consulting. A lot of people are very niche. They'll either do digital consulting or media buying or advertising consulting or public relations type of consulting. But I do it all. So I kind of want to set some type of precedent for an in-house, a one-stop shop, if you will.
Got it.
You can come to me for just launching. You can come to me for, giving it a restart. You can come to me because there's an anniversary coming up in your company and you want to make a big splash. I don't want to be just known as one thing when it comes to building the brand. I want people to feel comfortable approaching me, even with things that seem trivial, because it's probably exciting to me and something I could probably help you do for your brand.
And so you sound very approachable in the sense of I can just come to you and say, I need help.
Right.
Here's my story.
Right.
Where do I start? What do you think? Right. And then it sounds like you reach into your toolbox and kind of put it together for them and say, here's what it can look like.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that you offer such a non-intimidating service in being able to kind of, let's call it, holistically cover all areas of their business when it comes to brand, right? Because I myself as a business owner, it's very overwhelming. That's not my expertise.
Right.
And if anything, I always tell people, do what you're good at and do it well, right? And then get everybody else on board to help you with the things that you're not so well on. So
Exactly.
you are definitely expertise for sure. Like I opened up, right? It's marketing guru, just branding, all of that. I love that. So a couple of things here. How do we find you? Like if they just want to call, ask you questions, or if anyone just wants to inquire, how do we find you?
I have both an Instagram, V
Okay.
Consulting Agency. I also have a V Consulting page on Facebook. You can message me, DM directly, and I'm a one-stop shop. So I am the one who will check those messages and reply to you as quickly as I possibly can and set up a quick chat. Sometimes people just want to text me a couple of questions to see if it's a good fit, and I'm fine with that as well. I understand the different ways of communicating with people. So both on Instagram and Facebook, V Consulting, and I'm here to help you as best as I can.
And it doesn't matter what type of business, where they're at.
There is no specific type of business. I am working with businesses that during my career I had never worked in from a corporate side, but because of the different things I've had to do on a personal level in my life, I've dabbled into understanding what those businesses are, whether insurance or real estate or whatnot. So it's been comfortable working with these type of companies, and I feel like it's giving me a really well-rounded approach to new clients.
Yeah. And I'll just point out, I think that in speaking to you today, you're just very well-rounded. grounded, you take care of yourself, you manage, you balance, you step back. I mean, I want to say that we could probably help so many people out there in kind of like how just to kind of go about life
Right.
with everything that you want to do. And I am so happy for you. I really congratulate you because
Thank you.
it's a hard step. I know it is. The unknown is, but like I was recently told, is that as long as you do the work and as long as you continue to do all the right things, all you need now is time,
That's true.
right?
Very true.
And I think that's probably very similar to a brand. A brand, you could give birth to a brand, but it takes time to grow up, right?
Very true.
And mature,
Yes.
as we've seen with famous brands out there and everything like that. But yeah, and so again, I mean, I love this conversation because it's and I'm going to say it. It's like you're the all around girl next door.
Oh, thank you so much.
or mom
Gio.
next door, entrepreneur next door,
Thank
very
you.
approachable. So if anyone's listening out there, please, don't feel intimidated. We know that there's a lot of steps to like jumping into entrepreneurship, your business. We certainly advocate to build your tribe because I'm assuming you have people around you, mentors.
Very many.
Yeah.
And for different specific reasons, people that I reach out to for certain things. I think that's probably one of the smartest things that I've ever done, surrounding myself by those strong people that can be there to support when you need it.
Absolutely.
It's impossible to say you could do it alone. It does take a village.
100%. And so always an advocate for reaching out for support or help is not a weakness. It doesn't mean that you're not capable. It's just that we can't do it alone at the end of the day.
That's true.
So anything else that's coming to mind that you want to say or that you'd want to like give out there? I mean, because you have a lot of value. I mean, you really do. I feel like I can pick your brain a lot, but anything that's coming to mind that you want to leave people with?
Yes, in these last 6 months since starting my own company, something that's become extremely evident is that as you meet people throughout your life and your career, don't lose those connections because it's become more clear to me than ever that tapping back into people that I've met along this journey has helped me bring my company to where it is in just a short 6 months. Leaving good relationships untouched, don't believe that just because something didn't work out with a company, that door is shut. It's just that there's a window opening somewhere else. And those connections have taken me very far. So, Rolodex is the old school word, but, keep those contacts and every so often reach out and see what people are doing for business because it does help you grow your own book of business.
And you have brought up such a great point, that a learning that has stayed with me for such a long time. There was a guest speaker that I saw speak, I kid you not, probably about 8, 9 years ago. And she stood up on stage and said, women never reach out to people, even because they feel either bad or because it's been too long, versus men will just pick up the phone and be like, hey, buddy, how's it been going?
Right.
It's been 5 years, and we'll ask for the favor. So what I heard from you is keep those contacts, relationships. Do not be afraid to pick up that phone, no matter the time, because you never know what you're going to receive from them. I love that.
100%.
So thank you for reminding us of that. So yes, do not be afraid to pick up the phone, call people.
Yes.
That's it, no matter the time. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yay. Thank you so much. So there you have it, Miami. Recharge your life, balancing your well-being, and taking that leap into your purpose, your career, doing what you love so that every day you can wake up and make it the best day and just really take care of yourself and live that like peaceful, satisfied life that we're looking for. It does take work. It is a challenge, but you can do it as long as you're intentional. So thank you, Vania, for coming today.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely.
Thank you. And so we will see y'all next time on Recharge Your Life. Bye.